Hey und willkommen beim Indie Film Talk Podcast. Der Podcast, wo es um die täglichen Freuden und den immerwährenden Kampf eines Filmschaffenden geht. Viel Spaß! In dieser Sonderfolge, welche in Kooperation mit der DFFB, dem Filmnetzwerk Berlin und Serialeyes entstanden ist, geht es um das Schreiben und Arbeiten an der israelischen Serie Fauda, welche sich in den letzten Jahren zu einer der erfolgreichsten israelischen Serien entwickelt hat und bei Netflix bereits in der 3. Staffel zu sehen ist. Drehbuchautorin Donna Sharpe redet in diesem Gespräch mit Drehbuchautorin Michal Aviram über die Arbeit im Writers Room, ihre Herangehensweisen an die verschiedenen Charaktere der Serie und wie sich die Serie von Staffel zu Staffel weiterentwickelt hat. Falls ihr Fauda noch nicht gesehen habt, könnt ihr das aktuell bei Netflix nachholen, wo es alle 3 Staffeln im Stream gibt. Es bleibt mir also nur noch zu sagen, dass dieser Talk in Englisch gehalten wurde und ich euch viel Spaß beim Zuhören wünsche. Und ja, wir hören uns am Ende noch einmal.
Okay, great. Let's start. Please welcome our guest for tonight, Michal Aviram, and our host, Donna Sharpe.
Thanks, Federica. Okay, so it's a pleasure to have you here with us tonight, Michal, all the way from Israel. And you're the only writer on the Fauda team to have been on it right from the beginning, in development, all the way through 3 seasons now. In Germany, we've only seen 2 seasons, but the 3rd season, I understand, is premiering in Israel very soon.
Yeah, in like 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks,
yeah.
okay, awesome. How did you come to join the team in the first place? What attracted you to the project?
Well, I was on maternity leave, and I was was really desperate to get out of the house. And Ganit from Yes, she's the head of drama in Yes Satellite TV, and she told me they're having this new show, and she asked me if I want to meet them, and I, wanted to talk to someone not about babies, and I went to the meeting, and we just hit it off, and yeah, I loved. It's not even the topic, but the fact that Avi Sakharov and Leoraz, the creators of the show, came with such a personal and had such an emotional attachment to the project, and was so passionate about it, and they really had something to say, and it catches on. You want to be a part of it.
What were your expectations of the show when you were in development, pre-production, as a writer?
Well, not just me, all of us on the first season, we thought no one will watch it, because who would want to watch a show that is pretty much half and half Hebrew and Arabic? It's something that wasn't really on TV till that point. We really didn't think people would be that interested. And again, because it was such a personal story, it was like we were telling it to ourselves in a sense, and we never expected it to be so big. And I think it was even first real hit show, maybe, as far as I remember, and that made such noise, so it was surprising to all of us.
I bet, because it really has become a global hit now, one of the biggest shows to have come out of Israel, and that's obviously a tiny country that's produced a lot of big shows in complete disproportionate amount to its size. Yeah. It's incredible. And as a writer, as one of a team of writers, obviously you had your 2 creators, one of whom is the star. You then had another head writer and 2 episode writers, I guess?
Well, it changed from season to season, but I think something that is very important to remember, that the credits that you see and that are discussed and agreed on, it's not really such a... on the first season, we were Avi and Lior and Moshe Zonda, who was head writer, and then we had Asaf Beiser, who came in and wrote a few episodes, and we had Lior Kaminsky, who was story editor, but we were in it together, and everyone did everything, and everybody gave notes, and we were most of us were in most of the meetings. And so it was it's not like someone said, well, I'm just writing episode 4, so, And also I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I have like writing credits on all the episodes, though I got paid for like some of the episodes because I like, officially wrote not all of the episodes, but we are still a very good team. So it's
So it's a really positive example of a writer's room coming together and working together in collaboration to produce something perhaps more amazing than any one member of that team could have done on their own.
I think that's the purpose of our writer's room. And if it's working, it's amazing. And if it's not working, it's a horrible experience and for everybody.
And what did you try to bring that was special and different from the other members of the team and that would complement perhaps the rest of the team and give a perspective that no one else had?
So I think I was brought on like as the female writer, though I didn't realize that at when we started to work. And it's not like I thought consciously of what I bring, but in hindsight, like after the matter, I think that on the first season, I was like super, hormones. I was my daughter, when I started working, it was 8 months old, and I got pregnant before the end of the writing of the first season. So I think it was really, for me, writing the mothers, I think I emphasized a lot of all the female. I think that for me, it was like the mother seasons, and I find the second season to be the father season. We'll talk about it more. But so I think that, again, I haven't realized it as we were writing, but Avi and Lior being like really on that unit, and it was, some of the thing was so like obvious to them and so mundane, and they didn't realize how much potential, like dramatic potential it had. And so I was like picking and choosing the thing they were just telling and picking their brain and, texting them and asking them and in the meeting. So I think I was maybe like the first audience member of the show, just like getting the stories from them and to see what's working, what's not working, what I think could be used in the show. And
do you feel that was your writer's eye, or perhaps your audience's eye? Because I also often find that, when we're writing, I'm thinking, okay, what would I think of this as the audience as well? Were you able to say to them, wow, that's just an anecdote for you, but that's extraordinary. Let's use this.
Exactly that.
I've never heard anything like that. That's crazy.
Exactly that. I before I thought of it as a writer, I was just amazed of the story, and it was very surprising and special, and and cheeky even, and not 100%. I mean, sometimes you're very intuitive about it, and you're not sure what's the reason that it grabs you, but when it's something that sticks and you think about it, and so I think that's the key for a good story element.
To create that opening scene that opens not only your episode, but that also opens your season and your first season, and that sets the tone for everything. It's so important and so difficult sometimes to really find that, and sometimes it means going back and crafting away on version after version to really get that right. And then other times it seems like something nearly drops perfectly formed into our hands.
You know what?
Which one was this?
Now that I'm thinking about it, two things. First, the first one is the fact that the person they kidnapped from the mosque, we see him in very like warm light. He's a good guy, and it's not. And the Israeli team members are the bad guys in the situation. And I think that's very strong, and it's something that's surprising. It's not like they kidnapped someone who's shooting puppies, right? And he's like a really nice guy. And he is a nice guy. His character is of a nice guy. And so that's one thing that I think what made the scene more surprising and more complicated, maybe. But I think that I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember if it was when we wrote it, if it was the first scene on the script, or maybe there was something else and it changed in the editing, or maybe in the draft. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that at some point we said, okay, we got to start with an action sequence. But since the main character is not on that scene, I'm sure we had like drafts where we started with the main characters. So I'm sure it was like 8 years ago. I'm sure we had a lot of discussions about it, and maybe the final, decision was made on the editing room.
Yeah, and that can so often happen that we work so hard on our drafts and exchange different ideas and different opening scenes, and is it the lead or is it not, or is it something else, and then it only really becomes clear in the edit, which I find such a fascinating and important process, and also to know that as a writer I'm on this very long journey.
And it's not only your
totally
project. And again, I mean, when I watch scenes that I wrote, and then someone, I had so many cases like Nurit for one thing. When the first time I saw, the first time she's on, she has a gun, and to me it was like missed the whole thing, right? But so many other people made this decision, the director and the wardrobe and everything, trying to create this character. But I cringe, because to me it's like she started her journey too far. She was supposed to not look like she's like G.I. Jane from day one, right? Even G.I. Jane wasn't G.I. Jane on the first day. But so you need to be humble to understand that you just write your vision, but then there's like a million people to take it and interpret it and talk about it and have decisions. And of course, none of us is humble, so it's a torture. But the other things I tell my students is try to be as much as you can in editing rooms, because it's the best screenwriting, I think, lesson you can have. You will stop writing, entering and exiting, while you sit in editing rooms, and it's really it's just writing school to be in the room. Because you realize you need more actions and more props, and you understand, I don't know, just you get a better understanding of the whole process.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's nothing, it's really, it's another leg of the storytelling journey. The story is remade. And by remade, I don't just mean, completely reconstructed. It's often not that, but it's remade in a far deeper way, because they finally have all these elements there, and that can be constructed in many different ways to find the most powerful version. It really is the best film school. I
had
agree.
a talk with the creators of Our Boys, with Chagai Levy and Taufik Abouail, and they told me they edited the first episode for 1 year. So you really reconstruct, as you said, everything is being retold in the editing room.
It was actually, funnily enough, a book about film editing that made me want to become a writer. There's a wonderful book called The Conversation, which is by Michal Ondaatje, the novelist, and Walter Murch, the great Hollywood film editor, who's edited Apocalypse Now and The Godfather and many iconic films. And it was all about this process of editing. Michal Ondaatje wrote The English Patient, the novel. And when he walked onto the set of the film, which is a massive World War II epic monster film, and he just was terrified and horrified at the same time. And his novelistic instinct was just to draw to the quietest place, which turned out to be where this very sort of kindly and gently, nearly grandfatherly man, Walter Murch, was assembling the dailies. And they started having these very deep conversations about the nature of storytelling. And the nature of, I think from these two different perspectives, one the editor and one the novelist who wasn't even the screenwriter. You know, we're talking way back when in the process. And there's a beautiful book, a transcript of these wonderful conversations. And I realized when I read it, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to move from directing documentaries to writing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it is like the two ends of the stick of the process.
And I highly recommend it to anyone here who's interested in writing, because they go very deep there.
What's it called again?
It's called The Conversations, as a kind of homage, I guess, to the Conversation, one of the films by Coppola that Murch edited. Yeah. So, but yeah, Editor's Film School is awesome. Totally. You know, we talked a bit about this local story, if you like, is so specific to this region and this particular conflict, and then even down to this unit that the two creators were in. What happened as the show became a global hit, and did that influence the development of the story development and the writing of season 2 and 3? How did you cope with that psychologically?
Nothing really changed, but really nothing, because it's not Hollywood. Okay, you're still writing in Tel Aviv. The budget didn't change. You know, it's not like it really didn't change. The one thing was, I think that very early on the second season, just when we just started plotting, and we just thought maybe we should have like plots not in Israel or the West Bank. Maybe we should go to Berlin or to other locations. And then we said, that's not it. It's that the story is really in Israel, in Palestine. And so there, for a second, we had that maybe we'll go international, but very quickly we return to the original DNA of the story, which is like very here and now. And also, I think something very unique in Fauda is the fact that the unit they go undercover to a place that is like 20 minutes drive from their own home. So it's not like Americans in Afghanistan. They go back home at the end of the workday. So that's something that is very, they're at the front, but the front is really very close to home. So one side of the story, one side, let's say, the Israelis go back home at the end of the day to their normal life. But the other side, the Palestinians, their life, their home, their normal everyday life is the war zone, right? So, and that's like one of the things we wanted to say, but also as writers, we found it very easy to have conflicts and drama on the Palestinian side, on the everyday life, with the families, because their life is a conflict in a way. But the Israelis, came back home and went to a bar, right? So we needed to find a way to interlace the main plot to the everyday life on the Israeli side. Or I don't know if we had to, but we did, and we tried to. But like naturally, the story really lived and breathed on the Palestinian side. But again, it's a question: how much do you want to see of your characters not on like the A plot, not on the main plot? So.
I found it really fascinating how, even though the Israeli unit, they do go home at the end of the day, but no, they can't shake off this, if you like, this sort of nuclear cloud that hangs over their head. And they certainly can't, I guess, really calm the adrenaline that is raging in their veins. And how that hits family life with the lead, with Doron's family life and his marriage, or how the others can't really maintain any form of relationship. It's just too difficult. They're divorced, or they try stuff and it fails. It seems that the exploration that you went on as writers into the Israeli side was very interesting and very human as well.
I agree, but I think what these people, again, it came from their story. They felt like they went back home with these issues, and they have a lot of friends who are in these units or were in the unit, and they had a lot of stories of their own. But I think that's something like even policemen have, So I think the fact that the Palestinians continue to live their life, but their everyday life is really in a war zone. And Israel sometimes, like every now and then, is a war zone with missiles and everything. But that's not what the show was about. It was, again, about how you turn into your enemy in order to hurt your enemy, and then you go back home and who are you? And
you hurt yourself and the other people around you.
Yeah, we talked a lot about what's it called, like Donnie Brasco with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
So that's something that there's a scene there that where he sees one of his colleagues on the airport and he hits him. That's something that when your everyday life meets the undercover you, and again he kind of lost himself and he became the criminal in a way. So it's something that's very that we thought about.
And how was that received in Israel? Because it's a very striking and I would imagine possibly unusual stance to take, especially by the creators who had been members of that unit.
You know what I think about television and the human race? People will always find things to like evidence of what they already think. I don't think people really change their minds. So I think most of the people, as they should, I guess, watched it as entertainment. And if they were like really pro-army, they were like, wow, our soldiers are amazing and super cool and all of that. And again, when you see like these hot guys with guns like running around and the light is great and the music is cool, it's hard not to think of it as a good thing, right? But that's like the medium is the message kind of thing that, it's both sides, by the way, guys with guns, right? And it's not like you casted the ugliest people on earth, right? They're good looking guys. So I think it's a danger in this thing that you will, when you show war, you always kind of glorified war. But the people watching, some of them, like, I think right-wing people, like extreme right, would say, why are you humanize like your enemies? Which is, of course, stupid. And extreme, or not that extreme, left-wing would say, and I absolutely agree with it, is like, okay, everybody's shooting each other, everybody pays a price, but what are they fighting about? I mean, nobody in this show talks about what are we fighting. The unholy word of occupation, I think, is never said. And in a sense, it's okay. I don't know if it's okay or not, but I think that it's a conflict that goes so way back that it's not like it started on 67 or 48. So it's like we jumped in currently on the conflict. It's not about who's right, who's not, but there isn't like a larger context because we think the audience, at least in Israel, is aware. But again, everybody has their own narrative to the conflict. So everybody think it's just strengthens their agenda, I think.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The idea that audience members will project onto it what they wish to see.
Exactly.
Effectively. And I really relished actually the lack of expositional dialogue in Fauda. Like I really relished it. And I loved that decision that you guys made just not to have it. And I actually do find it really fascinating that, of course, you could say when you were making season 1, that this is going out for a local audience. This is a small country, and we all know about this conflict endlessly. We are exposed to it endlessly, and we don't need to explain it. But actually, when it went global, you also wonderfully, for me, didn't change that quite rightly, and it really worked thematically. I think in that there was no explaining. This conflict is so far down the line that it actually doesn't matter. It does matter and it doesn't matter what the origins were for these guys. They are just so far in it that they could not stop.
I think, first of all, regarding the dialogues, I think that Lior Az, who is the creator and the lead character, he's an actor. He's been an actor many years before, and he has like the ear of an actor. so he would know when the dialogue is just it's not very like talkable, and so it's something that very early on it became like the way we wrote. I think it's like a very good. You need to get those notes from actors because they know what will, again, in the editing won't make it to the scene. And so I think it was a really good school to write with an actor. And it's amazing the fact that you have the main character sitting in a room with you. It's crazy. It's very valuable to a writer. But and the other thing is that I think people all over the world that are really, unless they're Arabs or speak Arabic, they don't really know exactly who is who. They don't really. Arabic and Hebrew sound very much the same, and there's I think it's in the second season. There is a scene where Donna and his father arrive to a Bedouin site, and it's like really you have to have like either you're an Israeli or you have like a master in Mediterranean studies to understand really what's going on in this scene, because it's Doron and his father, and they speak half Arabic, half Hebrew, and they come to a Bedouin, whatever, like where they live. It's not exactly a city or a village even, and they speak Arabic and a little Hebrew to the Bedouin, but Bedouin are not Palestinian, though some of them may, the past few years, consider themselves, but they're not. Most of them don't consider themselves to be. So it's like two Jewish Israeli guys speaks Hebrew and Arabic, comes to a Bedouin who are not Palestinians on Israel territory, and everything is so mixed, and it's so really you can't really get all these nuance if you don't know them. But the drama works, right? Even if you don't completely understand everything. And so
I feel like it's a wonderful argument to, for whenever any of us are, sitting in rooms, and the question is, but will people in whatever, I don't know, Finland understand this? And it's kind of irrelevant, actually.
Yeah,
if the humanity in the drama is there, we will go with it.
I'm a Sorkin fan, right? I love all of Sorkin like films and everything. I don't understand like half of the thing the characters say. It's like he won the argument. I get that. I don't know what the argument was about, what they said, why he won, but I understood he won, and So I think, and I'm sure some people understood, what they said, but I didn't really lack my enjoyment or the overall understanding of the drama and the relationship and everything. So it's like extreme example of,
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen that Amy Schumer sketch, that takeoff of Aaron Sorkin? It's awesome.
I haven't. I gotta watch it.
It'll be knocking about on YouTube, but it's set in a fast food restaurant, but the entire dialogue and tension and way of shooting is basically The West Wing, but it's all about fast food. And at the end, the credits roll, and it says, "Bestowed upon you by Aaron Sorkin." And it was so brilliantly pinpointing how we can feel when we watch his shows.
Like, it's the rhythm, it's the,
this education is being bestowed upon you, even though you might not get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I was a huge fan of the female Palestinian characters in Fauda. They just felt like Arab characters in general, but particularly Arab women characters, that both in Britain and both in English and American shows, we just haven't really had. We haven't had that depth of humanity or complexity, and this felt like a wonderful insight into very different characters. Nazrin, the wife of the terrorist in hiding, with Shirin, the Palestinian doctor who's educated, international, a working woman, with Amal, the girl who witnesses the murder of her husband on her wedding day, decides to become a martyr, with Marwa in season 2, the sister-in-law of, I'm going to say the main terrorist guy, and I know that's terrible, but the sister-in-law of the main terrorist guy, who just wants nothing more than her normality and who is disgusted by this man.
She's such an amazing actress.
So wonderful.
They all are amazing actresses, really are.
And if we could just sort of focus in on a few of them and you know, hear about your process in writing and creating them. So tell us about the creation of Nazrin, who is so striking. She's played by such a phenomenal actress, but I also felt that you took her on such a fascinating and complicated journey as a character. You know, that she is a loving wife. She desperately misses her husband. She's being incredibly strong.
She's pragmatic, but she wants to.
Yeah.
I think she wants to save her children. That's and again, I had a lot of hormones on the first season, but Nasrin, I gave her a lot of things I say to my daughters, but because I think to me she was really first and foremost a mother. And it's not like all the female characters are about motherhood, but she was, because she is a loving wife, and she's all about the fight. She's not against what her husband is doing, but at some point she says enough. My agenda or my goal is to save my children. That's my goal, and I will do whatever it takes to do that. And I think it's a very universal thing for parents, or normal parents. It doesn't matter if it's normal, but fathers or mothers, it doesn't really matter. It's that for me, at least at that time, it was the only thing I could think about was like protecting the children, right? So that's, and again, it's what I said earlier. The Palestinians, since they had more at stake, more of life and death situation for the families. And I think that's why their characters are more appealing, or we're more into their stories, because just more at stake. And I think that all of us, not just me, wrote the characters, Israeli, Palestinians, whatever, like humans. So it's not that like the bad guys. There aren't no bad guys. I think that's what we wanted to say. That's why I think it's very important to, in the writer's room, always talk about the theme, because, and even if I think of theme, such a hard word to pronounce, but I think of it is not something like, it's not like on the ground and you build on it. It's like you have to dig to find it, and then as you build it, because it's like it's not clear from the beginning, but you find it as you write.
Yeah, I've also had that experience as well, with it emerging over time, and I think it maybe is something that I'm groping towards in the dark at the beginning, and then it does emerge over time, and that is a wonderful moment, really, I think, when that becomes clear, and we can sort of crystallize that, however late it becomes clear. And do you also do that, you know, there's a theme for the season, the series becomes clear, but do you also do that per episode?
A theme? I don't think so. But we do, maybe not so much, not every time, but there are episodes that are more about something, but not, I don't know if it's even conscious, but it will, since you're writing this episode and it's like this month, that's what you do, and it has like this like unique fingerprints of that time of your life, and maybe there is like a running gag, or maybe there is something that makes it a unit, and not just, it's not like was randomly cut from the whole season, but it maybe is, we might say something that's the episode where the team realizes that, but not like,
yeah, it's not theme though, it's more plot orientated.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how about creating the love storyline between Doron and Shireen? Was that always a part of even, say, the early development, or was that something that evolved?
It was almost from the beginning, or even if we did, I think very early on, the fact that you will have a relationship with a Palestinian was there, and we didn't want it to be too easy. Like, we didn't want him to be single, and we didn't want him to have bad marriage. And I'm not sure we succeeded at that, but we wanted it to be complicated. That it's not like he's running away from bad marriage, but he's finding his soulmate, and now he has to. But it's not sure it worked perfectly that way. But we did want him to be in conflict, even if she wasn't Palestinian. Like, even if he was, in a marriage, and he meets this woman he's attracted to and falls in love with, and it's like a conflict, regardless her being Palestinian and mixed up in all the plot.
And yet there are still layers of exploitation for that, certainly in the way that their relationship begins, because it begins when he's undercover and she doesn't really know who he is, and he is putting her in danger as well through his actions. And whilst it's not as obviously abusive in any way as what Wali is doing, that she's a source for him at first.
I think there are a lot of strong female character in Fauda, but I'm not sure Shirin is one of them, because she's very impressive, and also the actress is, she's noble. It's like, she's amazing to watch. She doesn't know Arabic. She phonetically learned it, which is crazy because she's from Lebanon, but she's French. So she is amazing, and she's intelligent, and she's loving and lovable and everything. But I think she's one of the characters that the circumstance, not judging, but the circumstance, she didn't succeed in fighting the circumstance. Or if the other character, even Amal, that takes her own life and kills other people, made a choice. But it's like Shirin, she did make a choice eventually, but I think she didn't find her way out, and she was the most manipulated and used character on the show.
And you gave her a vulnerability that felt like it was a choice on behalf of the writers in order that she could be manipulated and used. I guess it had to be there. Yeah.
Do you mean the relationship with Donna, or
I meant actually in
like
her
character?
whole character? She had a layer of vulnerability that even, that Nazreen definitely didn't have, and even Amal, who had something, we saw something absolutely dreadful happen to her. There's a toughness in her response, that's extraordinary. Whereas Shirin,
she's
despite
like soft.
all her, her intelligence and her education and her international travels, there's something soft in her that she's
agree.
Not tough enough for this world.
Exactly, I agree. Sad.
And there is a genuine connection with Duran, and there's actually a love that develops that is in one way surprising, given that it develops out of these exploitative circumstances. But you, despite the fact she's such a fascinating character, and she's a great actress playing with her, you decided in the writers' room to have Shirin commit suicide in season 2. How did you come to that decision, and what did you bring that was personal in your life towards writing that?
So when we thought about the plot, and then at some point it was clear that she doesn't have any choices. All the door closed for her. And at that moment, it was clear that's what she has to do. And as life happens, while I was writing that episode, which is 8 or 9, I don't remember, while I was writing it, my father killed himself in the exact same way after I wrote it. And of course, he didn't read it. It wasn't shot. It was while I was working on the draft. It's 9, I think. it was crazy. But it's so everything is it was a very emotional season. My father, the story editor Avi Sakharov, and the director's father were all dead. 4 fathers died in that season, and if you watch the season, you know it's the season of the dead fathers, if you like. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it really, really is. And did you feel that you were able to bring your personal experience and your emotions into the rewriting of Shirin's and...
Definitely. For sure. I mean, it was so vivid to me. I mean, really died exactly hung himself in the shower. So, I mean, yeah. You have to use these materials. Don't waste these materials. Yeah. But no, I also think it's very important to talk about suicide and mental illness in general. So, especially for screenwriters who are, very potential group for mental illness.
That is very true. And we're very sorry for your loss
Thank
with
you.
your father. But it also sounds very admirable that you were able to take that and use that in your writing. And that was such a moving and devastating scene that you created. How did people react to the loss of Shirin?
Wow. People still angry about us about it. Very angry about it. And even my sister, she was furious about me, and she said, very rightfully so, that Shirin was the hope of the season. Like, if Shirin and Doron could make it, everything will be fine. Like, the conflict, everything will be okay, because we're only people and we are humans, and love will conquer all. But it didn't. And it was very sad, and it was very cruel of us, I think. But we really, really felt like there isn't another way out. And I regret it sometimes. I really regret it sometimes, but...
What do you regret?
That we killed her. But I really think that...
But why? Because it could have sent the characters in a different direction?
Not even as a writer, like as an audience, like I don't want her to die. And I want like hope to win and love to win. But we really felt that anything else would be just Deus ex machina, or just like saving her, or someone else again will save her. So it's... we really felt like we pushed her to a place when there is no other solution. And
it felt very emotionally real, and nearly like anything else would have been an over-romanticization. Although, of course, there's a part of me that also loves to believe that this particular Israeli-Palestinian love could flourish.
It
and
could
that
flourish,
she's so
but
wonderful to watch as well. As an audience member, I'm like, oh, hey.
What a waste.
But yeah, what a waste. And I actually come on to something else on that topic in a moment. But yeah, the world that you have all created together, this is a world that contaminates everything. And, it would not have felt emotionally real, I think. Yeah, no matter how regretful.
It was horrible.
Yeah, and it's emotional killing off a character, right? As a writer.
Not always, but this specific
one,
yeah.
With this one. Yeah, of course there's some that you just think, hey.
Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Bye. But this particular one, yeah. And this, as you mentioned, many of you were going through a very deep experiences of loss around your own fathers during the writing of this season, and it really is the season of fathers. One thing I was interested in was the decision to kill off Doron's father in a way, as this is from an audience perspective. It felt like, oh my God, we've only just met him and there's so much in this relationship. My God, I mean, one could go on for for seasons getting to the bottom of this.
In my mind, and I think the other writers, we knew Doron's father character so well, and we had him in our head from the first season. We always, me at least, thought of him like Dennis Hopper in True Romance, like this outcast living, and the son comes when he has no other. And we really, he wasn't like on the show on the first season, but we thought about him from like day one.
Yeah. To create Duran, you must have had to.
It's like, no, really, as a character, and we knew where he lived, and we knew a lot about him, and he somehow didn't make it in the first season, but he made it to the second. And I have to tell you, I hardly go to sets because I hate it. And also, and in Fauda, it's always far and hot and all kind of things. But I did went to that day, and I stood there, and there was this scene where the one's team member, his friends, are holding him not to get in the house, and I really had tears in my eyes. And it's not about the father. It's not that scene. And they were so into it. Really, it was watching them hugging each other. I don't know. It was very, very emotional. And sets aren't very emotional usually because everybody's just eating and waiting for it to end. And I was standing there with Avi Sachau, and I told him, we are bad people. We are bad people for writing this. Why aren't we like writing about unicorns or something? Because it was very sad, and I felt, why are we writing this? What's wrong with us? Yeah.
And when they are all holding him, it is very moving, and you really see, the love between them in not a romanticized way at all, just that this is very real, and that even though you might hate each other and have betrayed each other and love each other, you show up.
Yeah, exactly.
That, and despite the many problems that those guys have between them at that time, they showed up.
Yeah, it's very strong. I mean, it's very, for me, it was, I wouldn't even call it a sin. When you teach screenwriting, and even in my own dialogue with myself, I always say every scene has to have a conflict and a change and all of that. But sometimes maybe it's not a scene, it's a moment, right? And it's just like, I don't know. So,
and it's the moment, and it's also something that the actors have created one step further.
It was very, something happened there where, I don't know, it was
there's sometimes this mysterious alchemy,
the magic.
Yeah.
And also Lior, before they shot it, he like went to the side for a really long time with like he was really getting, I don't know, something happened there, and
it can be very profound to witness that.
Yeah.
And amazing, given that we remember just typing words on our computer.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Sometimes I think, why are they taking me seriously? So you see somebody carrying a prop, and you say, I just wanted to finish the draft, and I wrote it, and it's weird to see it come to life. It really is.
Yeah. Frankenstein moment. Which episode of season 1 and 2 are you most proud of writing, and why?
Well, 2 for sure, the one with Shirin, and 1 so long ago, I don't know, not the first one that I can say for sure. I mean, I wrote it, but I would like to rewrite it now, but for some reasons. But we worked so much on that, like the initiative incident. We had so much trouble with it. So
and first episodes are a nightmare.
Yeah, and you don't want to write an exposition, and it is hard. But I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe the one when Donna is hardly speaking. And also, I'm a huge Wall-E fan. It's like my most favorite movie.
Amazing.
So I always try to have the character not speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes use that in teaching, those first 15 minutes. It's the perfect. Most incredible example of how to write drama without dialogue. It really is.
It's a masterpiece, and I also teach it only. It's amazing. I love this movie.
Yeah. And because I know you can't tell us much, but what can you tell us about season 3? Like, what's the new setup for it?
Oh, it's going to take place in Gaza.
Mm-hmm. And can you explain to our audience why that is different and what that brings?
So, the first and second seasons are in Israel and in the West Bank, the Palestine West Bank, whatever you like to call it. And Gaza is a whole different thing. It's controlled by Hamas. It's a place that shoots missiles on Israel every now and then. It's it's really a refugee camp, huge refugee camp with millions of people that have no water or electricity, or some of the day they have like 4 hours of electricity a day and no water, and it's crazy. And it's like it's the most crowded place in the universe, really, like in the world. And so it's a very scary place to be. There is no army there. It's not like so it's a place that we just wanted to have.
So it's really upping the ante.
Yeah, exactly, and it's But I really think, by the way, we had on this season Noah Stolman was head writer, and he's a genius, and I really think he took us like the gang and just disciplined us, and really, he's amazing, and I really think it's the best season. I really think it's the best season.
And he came fresh to Fauda.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He's going to be on the 4th season as well.
Okay, awesome. And there is a 4th season.
Yeah,
it's underway.
Yeah.
You're writing.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was very exciting for us. I would like to thank you so much for speaking to me and everyone here.
Thank you.
And now we get a chance to open up for questions from the audience. So you have the microphone. I'll leave you in charge.
I wanted to ask mostly about the process of writing with, did you have any Palestinian writer or someone you discussed with, or did how did the research came about in this? I mean, it's my cliche Israeli left-wing question.
Yeah. So it's
I do think this politically this series is quite well made, in terms of
balance.
Yeah.
I think it's two questions. The first one is that did we have a Palestinian writer in terms of sounding the voice of the others? That's what you mean?
Yes. Also, I had a this is quite technical, about the dialogues that are in
okay,
Arabic.
So
also,
I answered there's the whole research and Arab thing, the Arab language thing. So the research is Avi Sakharov, the creator, one of the two creators of the show, is a journalist. He's one of the best journalists in Israel, and he knows everything and everyone in Israel, in the army, in the Shabak, on the Palestinian side, on Abu Mazen, the Mukata. Really, he knows everybody.
But he still doesn't know how a Palestinian woman, widow feels as.
No. Wait. So there's the research part, and Avi speaks fluent Arabic. He writes in Arabic, and after we wrote everything in Hebrew, and then we had someone translating it, and Avi was always on the set just to hear the Arabic and make sure it's fine. And so the whole research and Arabic thing, that's really Avi. And whenever I had a question, I would just call him or text him, and what's this street called, where can he shop, what can he eat, and stuff like that, to be very specific. But the other side of the question, not the technical side, is how do you write about a conflict and show the two sides and just have one part of the one side?
Because we are very much used to to see the Israeli, whether it's cinema or not, whatever. How Israeli think that Palestinians feel.
But I think you have to remember it's an Israeli show by Israeli writers. Yeah, no. So the thing is that the only thing I can say is that I would never try to even say that I write the truth. The only thing I write is my point of view of the situation and how I feel it. And I can write anything. I could write.
But did you talk to anyone? Did you try to reach out to whatever? I mean, I know how.
Say in Hebrew.
It's not about the language. Did you talk to any whatever women? Did you try?
No, I didn't. What I did do is just write. In a sense, everyone, myself. You know what I mean? A human, and it's every side of me or the writer or the other writers. I mean, I think it's very clear with the mothers in the show, that I was very like close to these characters, not close like emotionally, but just I mean, it was easiest for me to write, but I think it just look at the characters as people. I mean, and I think I can understand why they do what they do. Well, I can't understand what they do, but on both sides, right? And obviously that it's leading us nowhere. The whole it's not working. We should try something else. I always wanted to do Fauda the peace season, so yeah, and then we retired. No, but I really do want to do that. But maybe it will happen if you write it and they will come, something like that.
Okay. Thanks a lot for giving us the insight of your work. You mentioned one thing which I'm interested of. You said that revenge is not a very strong motive, as far as I recall. I agree in a human way, but why not as motive for a character in a play like this? Because there are whole films driven by revenge. And
I never buy it. I just don't buy it. I don't believe that's like every time there's all these like huge American films where the character is revenging like his father or whatever. I can't understand why would someone do something. Me personally, I just can't relate to it. And with the exception of Inigo Montoya, of course, which is an amazing character. But no, it's I just don't. It doesn't feel authentic to me. I can't relate to that motive, and not when I write and not when I watch a movie. And I think that maybe that character, even if in the mind of the screenwriter, maybe like the inner conflict or the inner need was to find himself in the world or to make everything right again. But the revenge as a revenge is something that I can't understand or relate to. It's just stupid to me.
Okay, but I don't want to convince you, but it makes absolutely sense to me that you want to overcome the powerlessness
but that's not
you experience
revenge.
In that way.
That's not revenge. You can like say it's revenge, but it's not revenge. It's regained power. It's showing to the world that they can't keep you down or something like that. But it's not revenge. You know what I mean? Revenge is. It's not even punish someone. It's like more than punish, because when you punish someone, it's make them, I don't know, not do it again. But when someone wants to revenge someone, is to punish them regardless of the.
No, you want to make somebody feel the way you feel, that you suffer the way you suffer. I can understand. Amal is her name, yeah. I can understand. Would not be my way, yeah. But to me, it makes completely sense.
Yeah.
I would ask a question. Do we think this story would be possible in Israeli TV, or it's special for Netflix?
No, it was originally for Israel. It was first broadcast in Israel. And only after the first season finished broadcast in Israel, then they just heard about it. And I think someone actually watched it and contacted someone. It's like a miracle story, one of those things. They actually approached us, and it wasn't even like an agent or something. There was someone, I think someone, maybe Jewish or just speaks Hebrew or something like that, watched it and just got the rights and bought it, sold it, whatever.
Not more of this Israeli series coming from Netflix? Or?
There are actually a lot of Israeli shows on Netflix. I'm not sure what is shown in Germany, because when you change countries, everything is like completely different. But there are
all of them are shown in Germany.
All of them?
Yeah.
There is a lot of show. You should watch. Stiesel is amazing. And there's a lot of shows. There is
I think also on German Netflix. There's, even the original Homeland is up there, Prisoners of War, and that's from some time ago now.
Yeah.
I think the original In Treatment is up there, which is really from
It's
a while ago.
It's a must
amazing.
watch. Yeah.
And Betipul, I'm mispronouncing it, I'm
no,
sure.
it's
but-
exactly that. Exactly
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
A lot of Israeli shows
Hostages
are
is
on.
up there, I think.
Yeah, Hostages. The director
Yeah.
of Hostages directed the second and third season of Fauda. Yeah, a lot of Israeli shows.
And especially as a writer, what I find very interesting is that because budgets seem so much significantly lower than German ones, and there's so much less you can do with, say, big set pieces or, epic journeys or whatever, it really seems like there's such amazing focus on the writing. And, if you're not good enough to make something work within 4 crappy walls and a desk, and to make something unbelievably good out of that, then you will not work on these shows. And for me, it seems like it's a very exciting time to be a writer there. Is that true?
Anywhere, I think.
Yeah, also here in different ways.
No, but really,
particularly though, it stands out because there isn't the money that certainly that the Americans throw at stuff, but even not the money that there is here, and so that to me creates, I think, just this system that demands that the writing is so much better.
I agree. I think that when you write and you get used to get notes from the producer after you finish the episode, and it's great, but you can't shoot it at night, and you can't have a car, and you can only have 2 actors, and so you get used to writing this way. You're not, there. We have this I can say about the third season. We have a helicopter, which was a long life dream of ours, and we didn't have it in the earlier seasons. We had sounds of helicopters, but not the real thing. Now we do, and so you really get used to, you won't get away with it. You just throw it away and you should write it again.
And there's nothing for the writing to hide behind in terms of showiness or, bling on the set, or it in a way it just provides this wonderful spotlight just for the writing.
And I think the directing also, it has to be so creative in the directing, and the actors are really good, really good also. And Leo is now working in Hollywood, and he's done this huge feature film that I don't remember the name, but it's not out yet. But he would send us on the WhatsApp group videos from the sets, and he's like, "Look, there are shooting at a brand new Jeep." And he's like, if you shoot a car in Fauda, it can't be scratched or something, right? You have to go give it back. And they're just, you total lost the car for one take. And it's different worlds. And yeah.
I bet. And who else has a question?
Hi, Sheila. So I was wondering how and if you prepared for writing the series in terms of journalistic and political research, because I suppose that that Avi was the guy sort of with all that knowledge.
I was definitely the stupid one, that if Michal understood it, that it would be fine. I had to ask the most stupid questions. Maybe not stupid, but I think that most of the people in Israel don't have really profound understanding of who's against who, and you have the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, and it's very complicated, and everything is so different. You have Ramallah and Gaza, and you have Israeli Arabs who are also Palestinians. Everything is very complicated, and everybody thinks differently about it politically. But I knew nothing coming into Fauda, really nothing. Just your ordinary, left wing from Tel Aviv that assumes that everything Israel does is wrong and immoral. And then I learned that that's true, not just true, but I learned more layers and more deeply politically and everything. And I also took Arabic classes, which I don't remember anything. Just Azrir, which is small. That's the only word that sticks. I don't know why. And so I really learned through by Avi. I read some books, but I didn't do like proper research. And, if you don't include Wikipedia.
Wikipedia is proper.
Yeah, so I did a lot of proper research.
Good. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Then thank you so much to Michal for coming here tonight. Thank you. And thanks to Donna for leading the interview. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Michal. It was wonderful to hear all of your perspectives.
Ich hoffe, ihr hattet einen interessanten Einblick in die Entwicklung von der israelischen Serie Fauda. Diese Folge ist eine Kooperationsfolge mit der DFFB, dem Filmnetzwerk Berlin und Serialeyes und wurde im DFFB-Kino aufgezeichnet. Mehr Infos zu Michal, Fauda und allem, was in der Folge besprochen wurde, findet ihr in den Shownotes auf www.indiefilmtalk.de. Ich würde mich natürlich freuen, wenn ihr den Podcast abonniert und Kollegen oder Freunden weiterempfehlt und folgt uns auch sehr gerne bei Facebook und Instagram, um keine weitere Folge mehr zu verpassen. Genau, ansonsten würde ich sagen, ich wünsche euch einen schönen Tag, Abend oder Nacht und wir hören uns bei der nächsten Folge.